Hello and welcome to Farscape,
a ostensibly fun-filled Farscape fan cast with a fervent fan
and a frankly fascinated first-timer.
I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay, and this is
the story So Farscape.
Yes, fun-filled is a little bit of a stretch for today's episode, isn't it?
How are you feeling about season 2 so far?
It's a roller coaster ride. I mean, it's amazing. I mean,
right?
Yeah,
but it is mostly downhill. If we're being honest.
Oh dear, is it going to get worse?
No, I mean, okay. So we're up to episode 5, The Way We Weren't, and now honestly, I have been excited to share this episode with you for a while.
Oh,
but I've kind of forgotten like what a downer season 2 starts as. I mean, Mind the Baby, excellent.
Yeah,
right.
Excellent.
Absolutely fantastic to get back into the adventure of our science jock and our reformed peacekeeper, a priest struggling to regain her sanity.
Whom we've not seen much of in this season so far. Zahn has been a bit of a background character, I've noticed.
Right.
Also, Dargo is also not getting a lot of screen time. It seems a lot to be mostly, well, I mean, last episode was lots about Shanna and...
I was going to say, and the episode before that was the Dargo show with the Oracan.
Oh yes.
In fact, that's something that I didn't really notice as much when I was watching it the first time around. After Mind the Baby, it's all been character episodes about not John.
Yeah. Although he does always play a very prominent role as, I guess, a little bit the glue that starts holding everybody together.
Sort of, but
yeah.
It seems to be his role. Okay, now we've gotten into the episode really quickly now. His role seems to be a lot of kind of getting out of people's way.
He picks people up by the scruff and gives them a good shake. That's at least what he tries to do.
Exactly. So he tries to do that with Dargo in Vitas Mortis, and that's not what Dargo needs.
No. And then again with Chiana.
And Aeryn sets him straight because that's not what Chiana needs.
No, I guess he's trying to find his place in the crew still a little bit. Like
on the path unwinding. Maybe now that Zahn is kind of like, worldly concerns do not bother me anymore. Yeah. He's the one who's just looking for a juicy emotional crisis to...
Oh, that might be it.
To really empathize.
I mean, Zahn's become... She was a little bit snippy this episode, like very un-Zahnish. I mean, at least not the Zahn that we know from season 1.
Oh, did I hurt you, my dear?
We've had character non-John-centric episodes this season that we didn't really have as much in the first season. There was the Rhapsody in Blue.
I could see that, yeah.
But even that had a lot of plot for the rest of the characters to do as well.
Yeah.
And this one, The Way We Weren't, is for Aeryn and, it turns out, Pilot.
Yes. Oh, I love that. It was like, that was such a big squee moment regarding Pilot. Because I've been so curious about Pilot, and this tells and shows a lot of the things that I was interested in.
Oh, it's many people's, on the crew, many people's favorite episode. Certainly Lani Tupu got to do so much.
I was going to say, he finally got but both parts needed a lot of work from him, I suppose.
Oh, is this the first time Pilot and Crace, did they talk to each other? No, it was the old Pilot.
Yes, I suppose so. Yeah.
I don't think Crace saw our Pilot.
She saw him in the loading bay when he was being brought on board.
Wait, okay, so music.
Prepare for starburst.
Cool. Okay, now we can start. For the listeners at home, we are going to struggle to keep this fun because.
Boy, howdy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot.
Yes, I mean, opening shot immediately has you worried about, there's peacekeepers marching through the corridors of a Leviathan.
Yes.
And so you're immediately thinking, okay, what happened? Is this another gimmick? Is this you see the red and black uniform? So at first I was like, is that John? But no, it's not.
Right, yeah, because all the other peacekeeper soldiers, they have their
helmets
bug-eye helmets on, yeah.
I noticed this lit a little bit differently than Moya tends to be usually as well.
Yes, what you're seeing is called a bleach bypass process, and it's where you take the celluloid, which has a light sensitive emulsion on it that you normally then treat with a fixer and a bleach pass, which takes out a lot of the silver that's used as a reagent.
Right. Yes,
and it's quite expensive as well, so you want to recycle that. But if you don't do that, if you leave some of the silver on, you get these deep blacks and these washed out colors and these harsh contrasts.
Yes.
Sleepy Hollow, the Tim Burton film, was filmed with this process. It's really kind of haunting. And Tony Tilse, the director, used it here for all the flashbacks to give it that edge and to make Moya feel quite different.
Right, yeah, no, I noticed it was very well done to see how all the flashbacks were differently lit, and yes, had a very different feeling. Although there's more stuff that I would like to talk about Moya's appearances as we're seeing. But yes, everybody marches into the pilot's den, and then we learn that the pilot there is not, in fact, our pilot, but another pilot.
I have been bonded to this Leviathan for 21 cycles.
It's
more feminine voice.
I think it's the same puppet.
I think so
mean,
too.
Obviously, it would be very expensive, but she has her eyebrows set differently. She has a different set to her jaw, and she speaks with a female voice.
Yeah. And, I mean, we don't get to enjoy her presence for very long, because as soon as Crais wanders into the den as well...
What is taking so long?
He orders the lieutenant involved to shoot the pilot.
Fire!
Yes, because the lieutenant has marched his soldiers in here to confront the old pilot, to acquiesce to their demand for Crais' secret project.
Whatever your secret project is, I will not participate.
The pilot refuses, and on behalf of Moya as well, and she calls them, you enslave us, you torture us, and you expect our cooperation.
Yes.
And then the lieutenant says something in a language we don't understand.
Yeah.
And the pilot is shocked.
It's presumably that he can actually speak their language.
And what he's telling her, that there is another pilot to replace her.
Yes.
Which is what Crais says when he walks in, and he can't understand why progress isn't being made. Crais was intense.
He was, yes, very much so. He's like back to his old crazy self again. And I noticed that as well because, so Treaty of Mintaka 3 here, there's a discussion later on in which we hear that Crais is already considered a bit of a madman at this point. It's like, it's not that he went off the deep end later. It's like, no, at this point, in the past, which we learn is about 3 Arns ago. Sorry, cycles, I always keep missing.
Very good.
I always keep missing Yaren with...
oh, right, the Battlestar Galactica.
Yes, exactly. That's why I always mix those up.
I mean, I got a lot of new Battlestar Galactica vibes from the flashbacks.
Yes,
right.
But it's the grey and white blacklit scenes. It looked very much like Galactica, except rounder.
Oh, it's a horrifying scene when Crais orders his soldiers to fire.
That pilot can take a lot of damage.
It takes a long time for her to go down. It's torturous to watch. Oh, I noticed there was some really cool camera work in this space. Lots of vertical moves for the camera. Mm-hmm. In the commentary track with Claudia Black, she mentioned that they used a cherry picker and that they just had their regular Steadicam operator in a cherry picker so they could lower him down from above and then he could actually walk off.
Because I noticed that the camera moves in between some of the peacekeepers and it just almost like ducks under someone's arm, or at least it looks like that.
Yeah, great choreography.
Yeah, and as the peacekeepers take off their helmets, it turns out that Aeryn is one of them.
And then it turns out we're not just experiencing a flashback, it is being seen.
Yep.
We pull back through a holographic screen that sort of fritzes out.
And it's Chiana who has been showing this to John. Yeah. Apparently she found this lying around somewhere.
Where'd you find this?
Top tier? Digging through all the Drenstad up there?
So she's been snooping around and finding this, and there's we need to talk about this. This ship meeting.
Yeah, we go to the credits. A housemates meeting is called, where all our heroes are there together and they are not happy with each other.
Especially not the ones who were imprisoned on Moya.
That was a long time ago.
3 cycles isn't that long. I was aboard Moya by then.
As was I.
Ever torture a Hynerian?
Perhaps you helped torture me too.
No.
Yeah.
They're the ones who were like, oh, you were here on Moya before? I guess so.
I've been on hundreds of...
Yes, I heard. I note that as well. That was I've been on hundreds of Leviathans. So this project that Crais had been working on must have been a big thing. I know you mentioned that in the first episode of season 1 that you already see 2 other Leviathans in the same command group, or carrier command group, I suppose you should call it.
Yeah, you see them here again as well because the special effect shot is reused of Crais' command group. Some smaller craft, including 3 Leviathans in formation. Now, I don't know that every Leviathan is involved in this secret project, which
Probably
we
not.
later find out was Crais' project was Talon, basically. Talon was Crais' secret project, which was prevented from coming to fruition by
Lieutenant Velorec.
Velorec.
Velorec, sorry.
Yeah, because it's quite astonishing how much new information we get about the backstory of characters that we thought we knew, and also like how many plot arcs are kind of resolved that don't need resolving, honestly, because where Talon came from is actually not important at this point. Now he's been born.
True. But it does give a nice bit of backstory and a little bit of development, especially also for Crais.
Yes, it does sort of solidify why Crais was so attracted to Talon,
and why he knew so much about it. Yeah, because this has been his pet project for a while now, at least 3 cycles that we know of, and probably a lot longer than that. Because this is not the first time they're doing this with Leviathan.
Oh, I didn't get that.
Oh. I mean, okay, so...
tell me how
So Lieutenant Velorecreation is the one who is tasked with replacing the pilot.
Yeah.
And the old pilot gets killed. There's a few...
scooped out.
That was like... There's a comment by 2 of the other peacekeepers who, like, apparently, like, were marveling at how deep they went. I had to go to
get the shovels out.
Get the entire old pilot out. But everything that Velorecreation does, I mean, he has a discussion with Crais. Crais says, like, how long is it going to take? He says it's going to take me 84 hours to do. And he goes, like, you've got 60. It's like typical commander bullshit. And he goes, like, sorry, I can't do it. And it's like, from everything that I saw there, I got the impression that Velorecreation is the technical expert at, pilot replacement.
Yes,
he knows what he's doing. He's got Moya sedated. He knows how to handle pilots. He knows about their physiology.
He speaks their language, which is incredibly complicated.
Yes, apparently, like hundreds of meanings can be conveyed in a
concept in a short sentence.
Yeah,
which is way too much for translator microbes to handle, but apparently not for a trained student of pilot physiology.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves. The housemate meeting is not going very well, although Chiana here takes the reasonable line, saying that, like, we've...
Yes, I noticed that too.
Yeah.
Hey, she was a peacekeeper. What did you think she was doing?
Yeah.
What, she was out picking baskets of roller spuds while all the other mean peacekeepers did all the really nasty stuff?
Like, you accepted her before already. You just, like...
Now you're just, like, faced with some of the things that actually happened, rather than just her being a peacekeeper.
I loved that.
Yeah, that was...
Because John tries to be the voice of reason. He's like, hey, we're squabbling, bickering.
What's happening to us?
Yeah. Which is not... No, John, that's not going to cut it. Because Rigel is outraged, which... I think he's just in it for the... Like, I think he's been bored for a while.
Bored. Will you stop doing that?
I think he wants a nice crisis.
He's being a little shithead like his usual self.
And for Zan and Dargo, it's very personal. Like, it's reminding them of a time when they were imprisoned on this ship.
And both of them are like, did you torture us? Did you...
Right.
Were you the one of the people who, like, did this to us? And
I mean, it's one thing to absolve someone in the abstract of a life that they had behind them, but then also to, like, be aware, hey, that life may have directly affected me as well. Like, woof.
Yeah.
But Chiana, she's not affected by this, and she sort of tries to set everyone straight.
I guess she doesn't have... I mean, she's not directly involved, but she
doesn't have a pony in the race.
Exactly. She beautifufully brings out the reasonableness, I suppose. It's like, and points it out. And everybody kind of grudgingly accept this. Zan goes to stalk off and be alone for a bit. Dargo... Basically,
also,
but Rigel is just like, I don't know, we don't see what he does.
He's kind of huffy.
He just huffs off and goes back.
Okay, so Treaty of Mintaka 3 I think is important here as well. Because we go beat by beat, we're going to really struggle to keep it all straight.
Right.
So there's two major movements throughout this episode. And like there's the movement one is Aeryn. Getting the story out of Aeryn.
I have to talk to him.
Talk to me.
I have to talk to him.
Why don't you talk to me?
I have to talk to him.
So you think the talking will help?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's more to it than we've just seen.
Oh,
what we've seen is the crisis that Aeryn was aboard Moya before and then executed the previous pilot, and that's what we get in the first few minutes. But the thing that she needs to open up about is how she felt about this Lieutenant Velorecreation, because they were in a relationship, which talking to Crichton about her old boyfriend is tricky for both of them.
Yeah.
The other major movement is Pilot, which begins with, okay, whatever happens, we cannot show this to Pilot. And Dargo takes the recording to keep it safe.
Yeah.
I had that recording in my quarters, hidden.
It does not stay safe.
It does not stay safe, no, because our resident little shithead, of course, decides that he needs to take the moral high ground.
I am a dominar of principle as well as action.
And show it to Pilot. That was just like, wow.
I love how Chiana always calls him out on his bullshit.
Yeah.
You can't get anything past her.
No, I mean, she takes a bullshitter to know a bullshitter, you know? But yeah, he has his ethical little huff that he thought that it was the best thing to do. And like, I think I agree with you. Like he was just bored and he needed a little bit of drama.
He doesn't have... John's not causing any crisis.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's doing anything. It's so boring on here.
The Dominar is not being entertained. Something needs to happen.
I know. It's like throwing a hand grenade into the Big Brother house and just see what happens. The pin's still in there, but let's just toss a hand grenade.
Yeah. So, yes, we get... For the first time, we get to see Pilot out of his den. Because in the flashback, there's Aeryn bitterly complaining about the fact that she got pulled off Prowler duty and now has to be on transport duty.
Yes, because she spent the last 22 solar days with Velorec in a cramped little transport.
Turns out that wasn't much of a problem later on because they kind of I believe from Solar Day 2 or onwards, they've been getting it on. They've been recreating.
Yes, I'm going to give you 5 points just for having written that down. Very good. Which gives a different definition to Parks and Recreation now, doesn't it?
But yeah, we get to see Pilot kind of like wrapped up in a little bit of a cocoon type thing.
Yeah,
I have been so curious so far, like, what does Pilot's bottom half look like, basically?
Hey, that's rude.
No, well,
that's not how you look at
it. What does his lower half looks like? Let me rephrase it like that.
I wonder what he looks like below the waist. Ooh, that's a cool thing.
No, I mean, like
I get you.
We've been known that his nervous system is entwined with Moya, so I've always been wondering, like, okay, how does this work? Like, how do they look before?
Big is he?
How big is he? How does he look before they get bonded to a Leviathan?
You know what? Let's pull on that thread.
Okay,
because we learn a lot about Pilot's physiology. He even looks different here. It was tough to see, but I noticed it in my second watch through. His carapace is much smaller as a younger Pilot.
I was wondering about that. Yeah,
his face is more animated, but he's got these, what do you call them, like side crests?
Yes,
and they're significantly smaller. He also has an entire bottom half, which is like half again his body.
Yeah,
which I found out they had a spare body for Pilots. So they just turned that upside down.
Yes, I was
and
wondering.
Used that as his bottom half and they just had to paint it and like add some extra little legs that he's got there.
Right. Yes. So that's the thing that I enjoyed seeing. It's like apparently they do have little legs, but they're not very mobile on them. I guess they can move around on their own before they're bonded.
Yes, because we see the Pilot planet, which is unnamed, but I know from the lore that it's called Doyen. And I'm only telling you that because it doesn't matter. Where Velorec has apparently visited to have a secret little chat, a secret little swamp chat with a young, impressionable Pilot.
I want to be joined so badly.
I can make that happen, young one.
And he says that the elders have not decreed that it's his destiny.
Ready to bond with a Leviathan. But, I mean, you say he's so young, but that was only 3 cycles ago, as we learn here now.
Yes, he is very young.
Yes, and inexperienced.
Yeah.
Then again, I was thinking, like, you can't really be experienced at bonding with a Leviathan. Apparently, you only do it once. Apparently, the only way to get unbonded is to die either with the Leviathan or without the Leviathan, as we learn here.
Yeah.
But it does explain his eagerness to learn and how he always goes on about how he's studying hard and how he feels inadequate. And I guess that explains a few things about his behavior in that regard.
Yeah, certainly when you compare it to the other Pilot that we meet, who is much more principled and firm and aggressive and confident. Like, she's a grown-up.
Yeah.
I insist you reverse the control collar anesthetic and reawaken this Leviathan at once!
Whereas Pilot isn't. So maybe his, like, servile demeanor is kind of a reflection of his inexperience and youth. And that's what the elders are looking for. Someone who has life experience.
Right, someone who's been around a little bit more and knows how to concentrate and, not necessarily concentrate, he knows how to do that, but yeah.
So we see more of Pilot as he's brought in as cargo. He's the secret cargo that Aeryn was transporting.
He's got this little gas mask on his face.
He's got a little Hannibal Lecter deal to it. Like his arms are sort of strapped to his front, and then he's being lowered into the now emptied Pilot's den, which that set was huge now.
I love that set. That was a fantastic shot. Beautiful to see how that was done, how he was like being brought into position and
being winched in. And there's a space underneath now as well.
Yes, and he was so nervous and anxious about it all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like must have been like terribly exciting for him, but also,
terrifying. Like he's been crated up for 22 days, and now there's all of these little people milling around. He's fully Hannibal Lectered. But yeah, you've got this space underneath where Velorec is working, and you can tell that he's working hard because he's got his sleeves rolled up. That was a nice look. By the way,
it was a very nice look. Krace is being his usual snippy self, like
demanding more progress.
Aeryn tries to hey, can I get back to my prowler? And he just
blanks her and turns around.
Yeah, like I'm not even talking to you.
I'd like to state my case for being returned to my regular assignment as a prowler.
She that was the wrong moment, and then she's cornered by the two bully infantrymen.
Right.
Well, but isn't our high and mighty little prowler pilot?
Who there's a lot of classism in PK society. I mean, maybe is that a military thing? I'm not an experienced military person.
Nor I.
Is there, I guess, vindictiveness between the different branches? Because they're sort of bullying her for being a fly girl.
Right, and they're smearing the stuff that they have on them on her uniform and on her face. And now next time you'll be digging there. And again, next time that you'll be down there digging guts with us, and implying that this is not unusual for pilots to be replaced in this manner.
Oh, I got that they were saying, you're one of us now, you're just infantry.
Right.
So the next time that a latrine needs digging, which is infantry work, you're going to be there with us. I didn't, no, this is interesting though. I didn't get that this was a repeated project.
It seemed to me that's the impression I got, at least.
Okay, let's finish this thread of pilot, because it leads us to when he's being installed, which is normally a slow natural bonding process,
which can take a cycle or two.
Yeah, that has to be skipped because of the timetable that they're under.
Yeah.
Which suggested to me that, I think this is a passion project for Krace that he got grudging permission to pursue, and a very limited amount of time.
Yeah.
Hence, placing all this pressure to get it done, because if it fails, I don't get another shot. And then my ascendancy is halted.
Yes.
Maybe this is his ticket into the Admiralty.
I guess, but it's still unclear, because the whole growing Leviathan Peacekeeper gunship is that's going to take more time than those 80 hours that he...
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure, but it's there's a sense of urgency on his side, and he's got something that he wants to hurry it on. I don't know.
And as a consequence, the bonding is rushed.
Move!
And young pilot is in a great deal of pain.
Yes.
Which Velorec assures him is going to be permanent.
You'll get used to it. And it's wait, it's not going to go away? It's nope.
An unfortunate but permanent side effect of the grafting process.
But throughout all this, Velorec is so kind.
Yes.
Whenever he can be.
Especially when Krace isn't looking.
Yes, because when Krace is looking, that's when he pulls out the cattle prod and demonstrates the kind of sadism that Krace expects.
Right. For no reason whatsoever, he cattle prods pilot just to show that he's not being soft on him, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a consummate peacekeeper who recognizes Krace for what he is and what he needs to see. I mean, that explains why he says he's so high in military tech command.
Right. I was wondering about that. So, is he a tech or a military tech? I mean,
so it seems that tech is a class.
Yeah.
But you've also got new technologies branch, which is what John and Aeryn pretended to be when the peacekeeper commanders arrived. So I guess NCOs?
I suppose, but Aeryn used to look down on, that's tech work, but apparently she doesn't mind doing a little tech work with Mr. Velorec himself.
Yeah. Because that's the other major movement of this episode, her relationship with Velorec, which, there were some cool fake-outs. The very first time that we see them together, Aeryn is undressing after her duty ends, and Velorec is there, filmed very ominously. He grabs her, covers her mouth, and pushes her down on top of him,
yes.
And she kisses him.
Yes. She makes a comment to John that all her previous relationships have always been painful, and I got this is Klingon sex, when they're having when they're fighting and BDSMing, and then this scene gives me and then suddenly the Klingons develop cuddling, and it's what is this thing? It's is this kinky sex?
It is for them. Peacekeepers are encouraged to recreate
as many and as often as you want.
as frequently and with many partners as they want.
Because High Command understands that the biological needs, I believe they call it.
Totally fine.
Yep.
I did notice like the explicit John asking what about relationships? You know, the male-female kind?
Yes.
Oh, John. You haven't been out in the uncharted territories long, have you?
Although I did notice later on, Velorak, when he's being sneaky with
his fellow conspirators,
they're awfully touchy and friendly with each other, aren't they?
No.
Yes.
Yeah, no. Young Kaki certainly had a little bit of a
moment there.
Yeah, he may have written some fan fiction in his head in the privacy of his little thought palace.
Yeah, that was they were very comfortable and touchy with each other, those techs, when they were working on Velorek's sneaky little side project, I suppose.
They seem to all be of... So Velorek was played by Alex Dimitriades, and he's of Greek-Australian descent. And he was in a film about Greek Australian culture called The Heartbreak Kid, which I've not yet seen, but it's about a passionate relationship between a student and a teacher. And apparently there was a series there as well. So he was quite a get for this plucky Australian project.
Oh, okay.
But it sort of seemed like a lot of the other peacekeepers, and certainly the tech that he was so comfortably handsy with, seemed also to be of Greek descent. You know, the dark of hair, the refined jaw. I could have also bought Arabic.
Yeah.
Right?
I can see that, yeah. But, Mediterranean.
Oh, yes, of course.
It makes sense.
They're all within spitting distance of each other's gene pools.
Yeah. Wow. I'm not sure that's a mental image that I needed.
No, I'm so sorry. Speaking of spitting in the gene pool.
Well,
hold on. That's what Velorek and his conspirators are up to. They're trying to sabotage.
I see what you mean now.
Yeah.
Sorry, my mind went somewhere else entirely.
Yeah, no, let's come back to follow the light. They were trying to sabotage Crace's project, and so that was their sabotage was to install the contraceptive shield.
Yes. That
Dargo wound up breaking in. They have got a secret.
Yeah, that was interesting to hear. Apparently, so for some reason, Velorak didn't want Crace's project to succeed.
Crace is a maniac, and his coveted project is an abomination.
No, I don't know anything about Crace's project, and I don't want to know.
The project will likely kill this Leviathan, and I cannot let that happen. Will not.
What does that mean?
Is that what you thought about it?
Yeah, he thought it was vulgar. I think maybe he's a Leviathan pilot expert.
Yeah.
So he must like it. He must, he must have some
clearly,
kind of investment.
He's clearly invested in his job, and he does it well. He knows all about things. He's a little bit, I won't call him a mangler, but it's
I see what you mean. Like his ability to be cruel as well as kind, but I genuinely don't think that the kindness is a cover.
No.
The way that it was for such monsters as Josef Mengele.
Yeah.
I think that this is a necessity of his culture that he recognized, because he compliments Aeryn for that as well.
Right.
This is who you need to be, but
you can be so much more.
Ah, yes.
Did you,
no, I got that. And
it's even spelled out by Aeryn. That's what John said
when
as well.
when you're in a different situation, you can be much better, and that's okay. Again, Mintaka 3, right at the end, after Aeryn sells him out to Crace.
Yes,
he still admires her.
Congratulations, Aeryn. No ordinary peacekeeper would have attempted this. I told you were special.
Yeah, I noticed that when he's being carted off by the guards, he still has his admiration for her, and he's he doesn't even hold it against her. It seems that she sold him out to get her position back.
He still wants her to believe in herself at that point,
because that arc is he offers to pull some strings so that they can stay together, and she seems to be playing along right until the end, and then it's turns out that she's told Crace about his little side project.
Yeah,
that there is a side project, not what it is, because he managed
and
to keep his mouth shut.
There's no evidence of your shenanigans there, but we're still going to arrest you anyway for treason.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a harsh world, and she gets her Prowler assignment back, and she goes on, or
whatever.
Yeah,
as Chris says, for Lieutenant Teague, who's still alive at that point. He's been serving for a while.
Okay, a little bit. We have to go back to the beginning, because Aeryn has a little.
This
breakdown.
Isn't even a time travel episode. Look at us go! But this is what you get with flashbacks. Yes,
it's a flash. Yeah, that makes
I'm with
it very
you.
hard.
I'm with you.
No, so Aeryn has a little.
I'm going to bleach bypass myself, so we know we're in a flashback.
Don't drink the bleach, Kaki.
Thank you. Keep reminding me.
Aeryn has a little breakdown, which is quite understandable, and John does his best to comfort her.
Yes, they're having another boxing breakdown on the.
It seems to be her favorite way to deal with things.
Yeah, she got to make some hamburgers, as John said, out of her knuckles while she's beating up the.
At least the carpet has a red section which you can bleed on without messing up the white sections.
Oh, the visual symbolism of them sort of kneeling there afterward with the red wedge, literally like the peacekeeper wedge between them.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. I learned, by the way, that director or supervising director Andrew Prowse made off with that carpet. After filming Ramped.
He just rolled it up and just like...
Yep.
Yeah,
Lucky bugger.
He's doing a good job of comforting her, I suppose, when we learn that Pilot has now gotten the recording and wants to talk to...
Officer Son.
Yes, and holds it out, like
holds the
thing out in his giant... We need to talk. I like John in this episode. I think he's learned a lot from the last situation with Chiana, and Dargo as well. In both those cases, he was trying to convince and or force his friends to come back from the brink and just come and be safe. And he's realized in both cases that was the wrong thing to do. He needs to give them space to work through it on their own. And I think that's what he's doing with Aeryn. He is just constantly asking questions. That's the only thing he does in this entire episode. Asking people to...
Yeah, how do you feel about this? What can you do about this? How do we resolve this?
Because that's the thing that she's struggling to tell him. Like we've a few fake outs. We think at first maybe she's struggling to tell him what happened with Velorec because it was an unpleasant memory of trauma, which it wasn't.
No.
And then maybe she's uncertain about telling John because, well, you don't really wax prosaic about prior lovers in the face of someone that you're close with now.
Currently interested in, no. But John takes it very well, I'd say. It's like he's...
Yeah, he has a little bit of a struggle with it, but he's not a dick about it.
No.
But even that isn't it. Because the complexity of her feelings for Velorecreation is she stabbed him in the back.
Yes. Her talk with Pilot does not go well.
John!
No.
He's venting the chamber!
No, was she insists on doing that on her own, and Pilot has a absolute conniption.
Yeah, positive rage fit. Grabs her by the throat, strangles her for a little bit.
Yep.
Until Dargo and John come rushing in. At that point, he even starts venting the chamber.
Blasting them back against the wall somehow.
Which seems a bit weird because that's not where the vent is. But they manage to... he lets up on that, tells her to... GTFO, basically.
Yep, and Moya will not move another metra.
Until she's gone, yeah. We have another housemate meeting where China's grabbed Rigel and is just like giving him she's like being a bit...
It was you.
It's you, yes, you did it.
No. I think you showed it to him, so he owed you one. Yeah, a big one.
Giving you reverse umax to really piss him off.
Noogieing him between the earbrows. And
we also get a scene between Zhaan and Aeryn, and this is where your observation about Zhaan being snippy comes in, because she's treating Aeryn for the wound she sustained while being throttled by Pilot. Oh, apparently there was a bit of a coin flip, whether there was going to be a CGI shot of Aeryn being held aloft and throttled by Pilot, or a CGI shot of Pilot being lowered into the den in the flashback. And it was really just a coin flip. And Aeryn lost, so she had to stand on some apple crates and look like she was being dangled about.
Yeah, we see another few shots of just her feet where she's like hanging off the road. I guess she must have just been like leaning on the console, keeping herself up with her arms.
Two of the grips just holding her by the elbow, and now you just sort of wiggle and dangle.
Kick your feet a little bit, yeah.
Maybe they've got stunt legs, who knows? Yeah. That seems like a nice job. I could be stunt legs.
Stunt legs. Oh, how are your calves?
Okay, maybe not. Look, I'm just desperately scrabbling for any kind of joke here, because this episode is very, very good. And
it is. It's amazing.
But for a fun-filled podcast, we have not had a lot of fun.
No, true. I guess we find light in our little things.
So I thought it was interesting how Zhaan turned, because she's very snippy and she's treating...
like, did I hurt you? After she...
Yeah, she's not being very careful.
No.
And she tries to like vent her blame on Aeryn, but Aeryn... like, it doesn't affect her because she's already decided to leave. She's already decided.
You think I lack compassion? That Pilot is right and that I defile Moya with my presence? Well, you know what? He's right. And you are right. And I will be in my prowler and out of here in less than an hour.
Yep.
And that kind of shocks Zhaan.
And I guess the fact that she's shocked by it, like, gives her the realization that she probably doesn't want Aeryn to leave, or that she's been in the wrong with her response. I mean, like, emotional responses are never wrong, but you can always recognize them for what they are, and then decide how you react upon them.
I think that's a very good description, yeah. And I respect a lot that Zhaan can, like, abruptly change her mind like that.
I mean, if anybody's introspective, then it's Zhaan. You know, she's one of the people
that's very fair.
Most suited for that sort of thing.
We now get to see much more of what's going on with Pilot when he has a further freak out, and he actually rips his connection with Moya apart.
Yes. He literally reaches down and
into his own abdomen.
And, pulls out the same connections that we've seen Velorac attached to Moya earlier on. Because, Velorac did a little bit of, soul-searching or in-reaching as well. He's been very intimate with Pilot. Because, at one point when he's down there, you can see him just, reaching in and pulling out this
handful of
white tubing tendrils, slightly moist and stuff, which apparently is what needs to be hooked up to Moya.
I was so curious about seeing that again, because I don't know whether this is a surgical procedure. It doesn't look like it. Like, it seems like there is an opening, a natural anatomical opening in the abdomen that these tendrils can emerge from.
I don't know if they're supposed to, but they have a biological compatibility. Moya is a biomechanoid, which suggests that Leviathans are constructed. I mean, they might be based upon an original creature, but at least Leviathans, as they exist now, have a
mechanoid, mechanical component.
Mechanical component, and that means they've been intelligently designed.
Controversial opinions from my co-host Kay over there, because Pilot's rage is not directed purely at Aeryn, but at himself.
We don't know that yet at this point.
No, but we're doing that.
I know.
I'm pulling on the thread.
I know.
Yes.
I'm trying
you're right. You're right. Of course, because that's so, you see his rage toward Aeryn, and his rage is amplified even further to the point that,
he literally rips himself free. The side advantage of that is that he's finally free of pain, because apparently he's been in pain for the entire 3 cycles that he's been Moya's pilot. But I guess at this point he does this because, as we learn a little bit later in the episode, he's basically agreed to become the pilot replacement.
Yes, and that's in defiance of the elders.
So, because I was wondering about that early on in the episode, I was sitting there okay, from what we know in the past, Pilot wanted to bond with a Leviathan. And so he must have agreed at some point to become a pilot for Moya. And I was always wondering, was he tricked into... At this point, when we learned that the first pilot was killed, I'm sitting was he tricked into this? Was he kidnapped? Could have been another option. I didn't think as much, but...
Right.
But no...
Because Velorecreation would have been capable of that.
Right. But we learned that he was... he was kind of tricked. He was I wouldn't say tricked. He's basically, Velorecreation says, for you 10 others, it's that pilot is going to die anyway.
Exactly.
And you have the option of becoming the new pilot for Moya.
And really plays on his emotions, look up and what do you see?
Stars.
That's what I offer you. The stars.
I dream of nothing else.
I offer you a Leviathan. All you have to do is agree to help me.
Oh, the yearning in young Pilot's voice.
Yes.
It was heartbreaking. But Velorecreation is never dishonest with him. Velorecreation is exploiting his youth and his desire, and because apparently the pilot elders can decide who bonds and who doesn't.
Yeah, they seem to have a big say in this matter,
and they could have denied him access to another pilot.
Yeah,
apparently they have that degree of independence.
Oh wait, could have who? Oh, Velorecreation.
Yeah, Velorecreation couldn't just demand a pilot be given to him.
Okay, maybe
right, because that's what our pilot. Tricky. We've got to figure out the pilot species versus our pilot, because our pilot says that if he hadn't agreed, then probably no other pilot would have agreed, and then there would have been no pilot for Moya.
I mean, yeah, the reason that he does this, ripping out his own guts, basically, is, I guess, guilt at this point.
Yeah. He's disgust with himself, with his youthful impetuousness.
He's been reconfronted with the fact that what happened back then, as someone actually says.
That recording brought back memories of a time none of us wanted to remember.
Yeah. I mean, this is also true for...
And not just Aeryn, also Pilot,
And Zhaan and Darko. Like, they don't want to think about those years that they spent aboard Moya as prisoners.
Yeah.
It's horrible for all of them.
Pilot still has some control over the DRDs, though, even though Moya is kind of adrift and it causes the occasional shocks, apparently because the gravity bladders are misaligned or something.
Very good. I'm going to give you another 5 points for that. Very good. Yes, the gravity bladders are deforming. Oh, I love that. And Darko gives some further exposition that...
He's locked himself inside his chamber and the DRDs have taken up defensive positions. He must have used voice command.
I think he's using voice commands.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you for closing that particular...
loophole, yes.
Oh, hey, I've been meaning to tell you something.
Yes?
This episode was written by, and apologies if I mispronounced the name, I've never heard it spoken, Naren Shankar. He's a writer that we know from some episodes of The Next Generation, but in particular, The Expanse. He's now the showrunner for The Expanse. He did 3 episodes of Farscape, including this one, and he really, really wanted to explore the past of Pilot and Aeryn.
I mean, that made this episode great for me. I loved all the backstory we got about Pilot, all the shots of Pilot that we saw him. Like, it satisfied so much of the things that I've been wondering about.
It's almost overwhelming, right?
Yeah, it's like suddenly candy store. You know,
yeah. Also, just to see Moya occupied.
Oh yes,
because she can support a huge population. There's these wide hallways for tons and tons of people.
Speaking of wide hallways, I finally there's 2 things I noticed about Moya's design or interior. I noticed that the central room, is that what they call it?
The center chamber, like
center
a galley?
chamber. That looks a bit different. It kind of looks a bit like, I don't know. There were some open arches.
When are they in the galley?
It's right at the beginning when John and Aeryn are in there. They're sitting there talking at one point.
Well, that's after the housemates meeting.
I suppose so.
Or are you talking about the boxing room, which I think is in
no,
the
it's not the boxing. It's definitely not
bay.
It's definitely not the boxing room.
There's so many sets.
But it looks like they just put up a few arches and left the space above it dark to hide so that you couldn't see the studio.
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, a lot of Moya's sets were extremely modular. They had like 60 feet of hallway in 5 or 6 different sections that they could just on wheels that they could roll around.
So a couple of turns. Yeah, we went to tri-junction here. I don't think there's ever a 4-junction that I've seen so far.
No straight lines on Moya.
It's always tri-junctions that you see. And the other thing is, like, I noticed that the doorway into Pilot's den seems extremely low. I mean,
they've moved to Homebush Bay.
I know
the new studios, which weren't really studios.
But the other doors didn't seem to have that effect. And maybe there's just a little step up that they had to do, but it looked like they kind of had to duck down.
Ooh, I wonder if that's. If there's continuity from that door to the space underneath Pilot, that they had to build the whole thing on a higher level. I don't know for sure, but I know the door you're talking about. Like it has actual sort of puckering around the edges of the door,
right?
And beyond that, you see a wall that sort of looks like, I mean, veiny skin. It's really biological in there. Actually, no. What it reminds me of is the wall outside of Talon's command.
Oh yes, the weird like skin type look. Yeah. No, I see that. Maybe this is where the skin flakes are grown.
You just peel the wallpaper off, and then you've got a new blanket.
Yes, it's easier than doing laundry.
Yeah, certainly when you have an Oracle dying on you. You're right about this being an absolute candy store. There is so much to talk about, but the resolution we're heading toward is, I mean, Pilot deserves to be bonded naturally. Everybody needs to sort of confront their past, realize that's behind us. We made those decisions. We aren't those people anymore, and we have to move forward in a way that's fairer than what we did in the past. I think that's the main lesson. Aeryn wants to be fairer to John than she was to Velorec.
Right.
Pilot wants to be fairer to Moya than he was in the past, because that's what he says when he rips his tendrils out and all the blue gunk comes out of the tubes.
Yeah.
Moya is free of me.
Yes.
He's such an empathetic creature. He can't process the guilt that he's dealing with.
No, I guess everybody has to confront their past and then review it in light of the current situation. And there is a little bit of what's done is done, but I guess everybody has to realize that they're not that person anymore they were back when this all happened. Things have changed. Everybody's grown. Everybody has developed and become a different person, and they still have to live with the actions they took back then.
Yeah.
But just giving up on everything that's happened since then is not the solution.
Nor not like blaming each other. Like, I think the thing that Zhaan and Dargo are most concerned about is whether Aeryn has been lying all this time.
Right.
Whether she knew and didn't tell them, because that would be a huge deal.
I can't tell if you're lying or not.
Right. I mean, and this literally comes up a few times when she said, like, I've been on hundreds of Leviathans. I didn't know this was the one. It comes back later again when Dargo talks about, like, did you know Pilot was in pain? It's like, no, I didn't know that was this Pilot.
Yeah.
Again, it's like, I had no idea that, like, I've been on the same ship all that time.
She never talked to Pilot then. He was in his Hannibal Lecter phase.
Yeah. John and Aeryn managed to bypass the DRDs and jump back into Pilot's den.
Bypass? That's the word we're going to go with?
Well, okay.
There's a little firefight where they blast the
I was talking about the DRDs in the corridor at first, and then when they come in and Pilot gets the DRD shooting at them, they blast all the DRDs out of the area. Out of existence.
Oh, there's...
brother
and sister turns against brother and
Pilot
sister.
and Aeryn have a little heart-to-heart, I suppose. She literally offers Pilot that he can kill her if that's what he wants to do.
She gives him her pulse pistol.
Yeah.
And like, look at his claws. What's the brother going to do?
But Pilot at this point admits to himself that I need to. Actually, what does he admit to himself?
This is the point where he rips out his tendrils.
Right,
this is the downside of the Treaty of Mintaka 3, that we wound up crossing the same time stream. We're going to have to figure something out.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think we would have had a lot more trouble actually talking about all the things that we wanted to talk about. Oh, I got it wrong? No, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, no, this is no. The guts have already been ripped out because that.
Wow.
Yeah, because that caused the trouble with Moya.
Yeah, you're right.
Stop wasting my time. Get your unit working.
Okay, we need to learn how to navigate the time streams, but hey, we'll get there as we fly along.
Move!
Because Farscape is sort of moving out of the rollicking adventure of the week and trying some really sophisticated storytelling that we also have to adapt to keep up. Like, I remember season 2 came along, I struggled to enjoy it early on.
Oh, I can see that, yeah.
Because it was dark, it was intense. But then episodes like this would come along, and there was so much that I'd been curious about.
Based on my actions back then, I deserve to die. And if you wish to kill me right now, I'm not going to stop you. But please spare the others and yourself.
Aeryn, son, it is not you who deserves death. It is I.
The little heart-to-heart that Aeryn and Pilot have is actually when we learn that Pilot is the reason that he did all this was because of the own guilt that he feels. It's only here, right at the very end of the episode, that we learn that he was fully well aware of what was going to go happen, that he was a replacement pilot, and that
that the previous pilot would be killed.
But it was only his only chance at the stars, and that it's been his own guilt which has been projecting and which he's been so angry about.
Which I think goes for everyone. Yeah. Like for Zhaan and Dargo as well, like the animosity that they've expressed toward Aeryn, limited as it is. Like Dargo quickly processes it.
Yeah.
He can handle, we've all had stuff in our past. It takes Zhaan a bit more.
Surprisingly, yeah.
But the animosity is they've been heavily traumatized by years of abuse at the hands of a justice system that does not seem to value justice. And they were projecting that onto her because it's ripping open an old scar for all of them. Except Chiana. Who keeps and for John,
who are kind of like the bystanders and the people who try to make everything go in the right direction, which fortunately happens because apparently it's possible for pilots to. There's a temporary procedure where he knows a few things that he can hook up to Moya with, and start his natural bonding process, and he cautions them that it's going to take a long time before he'll have complete control back over Moya the way he used to.
It will make it even more tenuous for all of us.
It doesn't matter, Pilot. You deserve to be bonded to Moya naturally.
I will work hard to deserve it.
And they say, like, No, that
we'll
doesn't matter.
Yeah,
you deserve to be.
Through it. Yeah, and he's like finally can connect to Moya painlessly.
It's Dargo that says it,
yes.
Which I really like because Dargo is usually like the realpolitik, recognizing necessities, but he realizes that Pilot deserves this.
Yeah,
there's really nothing else for it. We have to accept the consequences because Pilot has had to accept the constant pain that he's been in for 3 years.
Right.
Oof.
That must be
Yeah, I know. It still gives me the heebie-jeebies thinking about it, that they've known him all this time, and he's been, I wonder if there's an allegory there for a person with a chronic illness, or
I suppose so, yeah.
that they struggle with, that they don't necessarily express to everyone all the time.
I mean, it can also be like construed as being a physical manifestation of the fact of the guilt and the pain that he's been going through for the fact that he's like
certainly
he got himself into this position.
Actually, that's a good one because once Dargo welds him back to Moya, which is this is what we're calling a natural bonding. There's a lot of sparks flying off your arc welder.
Yes, well,
but
how does it feel?
There's no pain. No longer any pain.
The pain was already gone, but now he has connection to Moya back, and still no pain. So that's a good thing.
I think you're right. Like I think it's partly physical and partly metaphorical.
Yes, that's
that he can bond with her without that guilt.
Well, yeah, we haven't really talked about like how it all affects Moya, of course, who goes a little bit confusing and really zooming about.
I am reading major variances in the life support system. The internal gravity bladders are all deforming, and Moya's trying to fix it herself.
That's because Pilot is offline.
Oh, wow. That's a really good point, because Moya's experience throughout all this just hasn't been addressed.
Well, there's an interesting scene about halfway through when we see how Pilot gets hooked up.
Yeah, does that feel good?
Yes.
You sure?
Much better. The DRDs are responding to my impulses now. Hundreds of them.
And Velorac turns off Moya's
sedation.
Sedation, that's the word, yes.
Yeah.
Try not to be afraid.
I won't cry out.
You will.
From the control collar.
And suddenly, Pilot gets this massive flashback information, basically all things that happened in Moya's past, I suppose. Space battles, fighting,
all of her sensations.
All of her sensations come rushing in all at once.
And her emotions, her intense confusion, because when she went to sleep, she was bonded with the previous Pilot.
Yeah.
She has no idea who this new person is.
And now there is someone else there, yes.
Moya can sense your presence. She knows that you're not her old Pilot.
What is that?
I'm sorry, it's a pain pulse from her control collar. We must force her to accept you.
Wow.
And then, of course, after he cuts himself out of her, then she again goes just like kind of random flying around. They try to find a way to communicate directly to Moya and control her or give her instructions, but apparently the control panels don't really do that.
Yeah, interesting there, because it seems like Moya is not really capable of regulating her own life support system very well. That's right. That's a primary pilot function.
So I suppose that the life support system is part of the mechanical part of the biomechanoid ship. Like it's something that they kind of have to tack on to make her habitable for humans.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that's not under her
or
direct
whatever
control.
The species happens to be. I mean,
right? Sorry, Sebastians. I say humans, but
I get you.
Yeah.
But like it does make you wonder like how common they are. Like they're not a peacekeeper controlled species.
No, although a lot of them are controlled by peacekeepers.
Yeah, certainly the ones that we see. But like there must be Luxan leviathans and Hynerian leviathans. Like everyone seems to know about them.
Yes, although
you must be able to.
They seem to be a somewhat rare commodity, but yeah, if the peacekeepers...
Aeryn's been on hundreds.
Yes, I know, but still, everybody's like talking about Leviathan.
I mean, basically, like, horse is a metaphor.
I suppose.
Right?
Yeah, not as large or as sophisticated as Moya here, but kind of similar, loyal and intelligent.
That you capture and make work for you?
Yeah, but we love them, too.
You love what you enslave?
We don't enslave them. All right, fine, we enslave them.
So...
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm really. I got to say, this is. I feel exactly the way I felt the first time that I saw this. I was just gutted.
Yes.
Especially because there's been a non-stop slog of these really intense conflicts. Oh yeah, let's confront the grim specter of death again. Cool, great. Super looking forward to it. I've waited 6 months for the new episode to come out, and it's worse now. Great, but what a sucker punch, and what a I mean, there's real moments of joy in there as well. Like, to see those moments between Aeryn and Velorec, and how John must have looked through Aeryn's eyes, remembering Velorec.
That time when he asked me to go with him, he said,
"You can be so much more."
That was exactly what you said to me on the first day I was here.
You've been irreversibly contaminated, remember? It means death.
It's my duty, my breeding. Since birth, it's what I am.
You can be more.
You can be so much more.
Now, obviously, this is retcon,
right? Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah,
but I mean, she went with him in the premiere episode when she told him, "This is who I am from birth,"
right.
And he said, "You can be more," and she heard Velorec.
Yes. I mean, like in the opening shot, even for a moment there, I was like trying to see, is this John that we're looking at? But I mean, I don't say they look alike, but there's like similarities. They kind
I mean, it was the head was kept out in frame. You couldn't see the hair color. Clearly had a red uniform. Right. I think it was a different red uniform. There was a lot of different Peacekeeper styles here. I saw the sort of giant pauldrons that all the infantry are wearing were matte foam this time instead of being shiny foam like we've seen them on the Gamak base. Lots of like little details suggesting that the uniforms changed over the years.
Yeah. So I was kind of curious about what Velorec's side project was until we learned that it was the contraceptive for Moya. But that still leaves me wondering, like, why? Why was he? I mean, why was he working against that? Like, do you think it was just because he thought that like having a Leviathan peacekeeper warship was an abomination? I mean, that doesn't seem to really fit into the sense, the thought patterns of.
I struggle with this as well, and where I think I land is that Velorec actually does have a great deal of respect for Leviathan's pilot culture, and that yes, while he is like exploiting them for peacekeeper purposes, because he is a consummate peacekeeper, he does value them, and this is finally like Krasis' project is so vile that these two worlds that he's lived in. On the one hand, his love for science and Leviathan, and on the other hand, his ascendancy through the ranks of PK Tech is finally brought to a conflict. And he has to choose a side. Yeah, he has to choose to either be a peacekeeper who violates the miraculous beauty of these symbiotic creatures, or he has to defy his upbringing. Yeah, and I think that at least that's how it lands for me. Yeah, because he is unrepentant.
No, totally.
In the end.
Yeah, for a while I had a little theory going out that whatever his little side project was going to be the workaround that allowed pilots to reconnect back into Moya, but that he was like doing a little sneaky on the side or something. But no, it turns out to be much simpler that we can just do a temporary hookup and we'll give you time to do your natural bonding.
Hey, maybe it's both. Maybe he did help. It's a very John Light episode, this. He's in there a lot, but he's just asking questions and he's just asking, hey...
What does this have to do with the tape? How the hell did he get a hold of that? So you think the talking will help? Talk to me. Why don't you talk to me? So what happened back then? What happened back then? Aeryn, what happened with you and Velorec? Did you love him? And Pilot's been in pain all this time? What about him? And you, have you... What happened to Velorec? What's got you so torn up about what happened? You love this man?
Can you please start the next flashback sequence? Pilot. Flashback sequence, please.
What can I say to make you flashback?
She gives me a Woody.
She gives you the Willies.
So, Willies is going to be like
all of it,
all over the place. I was mostly going to say
all Willy all the time.
Pilot treatment, I would say, is like basically the Willies here. That's, not just our new pilot, but also old pilot. Just the way pilots are treated here is just like, oh my God, that's like...
it's a confrontation for us as viewers as well, right? Chiana is also talking to us. Like, we've accepted Aeryn, we've accepted that, she's turned her back on the Peacekeeper life. What, do you think that she was just, like, hanging out, like, knitting while all the bad Peacekeepers were doing the mean stuff?
We really don't know what Peacekeepers really do. Other than
the examples that we've seen,
other than farm people for gun oil, but other than that, like we haven't really seen them do anything other than like focus on these specialty missions like Gamak Base and Krasis Project. We don't know what
regular 9-to-5 peacekeepers
do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, apparently, when two peacekeepers get close and they fall in love, then the man offers to pull strings to affect the woman's career because that's happening again. Like Lerac did that. Hey, I could pull some strings and
you ever think about going special ops?
Get you assigned back to my place if you like that. And Velorecreation is like, hey, don't worry about it.
I could make it happen.
I can make it happen. Yeah, I'm high up in tech command too.
Yeah, until eventually it is Crace that gives her the career that she wants by pulling strings.
I assume you're the informant?
Yes, Captain. Officer Aeryn's son.
Just contact Lieutenant Teague. She'll see that you're rewarded with the assignment you requested.
Prowler details, sir.
Although for him it's like... Whatever.
Yeah. He does so not care.
Move!
Woodies.
Yeah, also tough choice.
Yeah.
Because I'm with you. Willie is all over the place.
Mine goes to the pilot backstory. The fact that we get to literally see more of Pilot, and the fact that how his physiology. I mean, like I'm not for upskirt shots, but this was like definitely.
No, but I feel you.
That tickled a lot of my curiosity about how Pilot and Moya interact and how it works and how that whole part. That definitely.
He has so many little legs.
Yes.
When Dargo's welding him naturally onto how that works, I do not know.
No.
But there's all of these little legs sort of wiggling about there.
Yeah, they're like little hexapod things sticking out. A little bit like what are they?
They're very flimsy considering his body weight.
Yes, maybe that's why they don't move around a lot.
Or maybe he has a lot of them.
I mean, they kind of reminded me of those robots from Star Wars. The what are they called again? The Droideka.
Oh yes,
who come rolling in and then then they expand their little spindly paws and legs and
they put on their shield.
Kind of look like that.
Such a cool name as well.
Droideka. Yes.
Let me see. I think my Woody. Unconventional move is going to go to Lani Tupu.
I can see that. Yes.
And I know that this is an Aeryn-centric episode, and she did, by the way. Claudia Black did amazing.
Yes, that must have been a tough acting job.
She must have been exhausted after going through those huge ranges. But Lani Tupu finally got to let loose as Pilot. He got to be Crazy Crace.
Move!
And
vulnerable
sweet
Pilot, yeah.
Pilot as well. Just the way he says
stars.
Oh, it still sends a shiver up my spine.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with that. It's
okay. I think for this time we need to introduce another segment.
Yeah.
I know it's really hard, but the listeners at home are relying on us. We have not done any dumb jokes.
Oh, gee.
We've not done nearly enough dumb jokes. So let's go through here and see if we make some jokes about the stupid dry epaulets. We have the militarized DRDs who cannot shoot straight.
No, they're rubbish.
Oh, wait. Maybe they're sort of like peacekeeper anti-aircraft gunners. Because, like, John and Aeryn come running up straight down the only path there is.
Yes.
Direct line, and the DRDs can't seem to hit them.
No. I mean, maybe they just don't want to. Maybe just Pilot just said shoot and not, like, shoot them or anything. So they just go, like...
Maybe these are just some like rubbish DRDs who don't get to participate in the DRD laser tag that all the other ones play all the time.
These are the ones who are always playing poker.
Maybe they are playing laser tag. Maybe that's what it's. Maybe they play laser tag with actual blaster bolts.
Oh,
and that they're just playing possum once they got hit by the pulse pistols.
Let's go with that. Yes, man. Yes, bad jokes about this episode.
They always say that like. In theatre, comedy is one of the most depressing like genres to play. There's a lot more joy in tragedy.
I can see that.
Sort of feeling that.
I mean, as for joy, I mean, there's that lovely tiny little smile that John has right at the end of the episode. Wouldn't you say that like after we get his last little heart-to-heart with Aeryn?
Actually, that's a good point. Where he asked
after she tells him about that the first thing that he said to her.
Yeah,
you're more well, not the first thing, but yeah,
you can be more.
And then they all just have a bunch. They just gaze at each other.
Yeah, I mean they're still into each other
for about 16 minutes. while we fade out. It was a really long, fade out.
No, I think John's smiling at the end. Like you see the faintest.
And that's your dumb joke?
No, it wasn't a dumb joke. It was a little positive moment.
Okay, a positive moment. I mean, what? There's really not a second in here that I can have a gag with.
I mean, there's sexy times with Velorak and Aeryn, but...
that reminds me. Yeah, we have a mutual friend who lived in the Netherlands at the time, Myra, and I think she saw this as well, and she remarked, hey, Sebastians have sex with the lady on top.
Oh,
because that's any time that they're getting it on.
Right.
Aeryn's on top, suggesting that maybe this is their normal cultural practice. Like even when Velorak pushes her down, she's on bottom.
She ends up on top. Okay, that could be a thing. I mean, I don't know.
Now I wonder what her bottom half is like.
Oh, well.
And how John's going to feel when he finds out.
I mean, we've seen her bottom half in some fairly tight pants so far. So.
Yes, we do get a few butt shots of Ms. Claudia Black. I'm glad to see that that's not just reserved for Ben Browder.
I would say she's well exercised, so...
Although I could stand to see Ben Browder in skimpy crop tops like she likes to wear.
Nothing would look better.
Oh, actually, there is a moment. It's not a dumb joke, but there is the last moment when Grace leaves with Velorak in tow.
Yeah.
Having said, whatever to Aeryn.
Whatever.
He looks back at her for a second.
Yeah.
I really like that moment. I think that's the moment that he remembered her name and sort of thought, here's one to look out for.
Yeah. It's like this one.
Because she singled herself out.
All right. Well,
so much for another fun-filled... Wait, maybe that's the problem. Maybe we shouldn't come in with the expectation of it being fun all the time, because that doesn't have to be the case.
The podcast is fun-filled. That doesn't mean the episode has to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I enjoy... Well, no, hold on. That's kind of what I mean. The podcast has not been very fun-filled either.
Well, I mean, I've been having a lot of fun.
It.
Yeah, well, enjoying fun.
Can we come up with any other Fs to describe it that's not such a burden on...
a factually fantastic...
Ooh, frelled up?
Ooh. A fantastically frelled up... a fantastically frelled up, friendly...
Farce?
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm trying to find something.
Maybe we'll leave this to our listeners, who, by the way, check it out on @Farscape. We've made a handy-dandy little form where you can suggest your own synopses, because all the synopses that I had gave way too much away. So this time... we had the good fortune, Grace, who's at Marshland Witch, had written in and synopsized the way we weren't as, you ever wonder who had your co-worker's job before your co-worker got that job? Buckle up and let's find out.
Yes, that made no sense to me last week, but now I understand it completely.
Which is exactly, that is what we want. We want entirely accurate and entirely useless synopses. And we have a few in store for the next episode, which is Picture If You Will.
Yes, where Greg says, pushy traders give the crew a portrait of a girl on fire. Dali's art is now in space, and an old enemy turns out to be a fan of Labyrinth.
And Grace is back. She says, this haunted antique is going to catch you when the bitch get back.
Wookie says, Moya becomes the living ship of horrors. Get it? Like Little Shop of Horrors? When an old enemy shows off his artistic skills. And that is Red Shirt Wookie on Twitter.
Yes, because he actually changed his Twitter name so that we would say it online.
That's about the highest honor we can get.
No one has tattooed us on the side of their neck or named any children after us that we know.
I would encourage them not to do that.
You can find us at SoFarscape on Twitter and Facebook and on SoFarscape.com. We'd love to hear from you. I've been Kaki.
I'm Kay.
So Farscape, so good.